Hello, Leaf 156. My name is Mark Hills, and this is my uh, literary autobiography. I thought this video would be easier to do, but it's like the 8th time I've started over. To start off, reading did not come easy to me, not at all. I was actually held back in the first grade due to my inability to read, and the second time I started first grade, I was actually diagnosed with dyslexia as well as other cognitive learning disabilities. So basically, put, when I read something, it's not always, I don't process it the same as everyone else, basically. And so it made reading really, really hard. And to combat that, I was placed into the RSP program, which when I was a kid I always thought the RSP stand for Reading Something Program. But it's actually the Resource Specialist Program, and so basically there is a specialist that would take me out of class and then we would practice reading strategies, because I would have to read things in a different way as other students, and I would have to write things in a different way. So after I wrote a word, I would have to look back and read it and make sure that it wasn't completely different from what I was wanting to write. So there was a lot of difficulty with that. First of all, I would be in class, and during silent reading time, when the rest of the kids would pull out books and read on their own for like 30 minutes or something like that, I would leave class with other students with special needs, and we would go to a different classroom and practice reading. Though I did eventually begin reading better, not quite to par with the rest of the students in class, but I could read, I could do it. I still didn't feel comfortable reading in front of class, but I could do it. One of the things that helped me a ton was technology. Technology was my saving grace. Computers, I was in the laptop class in the 6th grade, and having a computer with spell check, with ways to look things up, was extremely helpful for me. And as soon as I got that laptop, I never looked back. I haven't written an essay by hand since then, and I rely heavily on spell check to this day. But I mean, it's a tool that has changed my life. It has improved it greatly. But now let's move away from that, from school and everything like that. Let's go to when I actually started reading on my own with Harry Potter. I mean, everyone has a story about how they started reading, and a lot of people started with Harry Potter, and I knew that because a lot of my friends read those books and they enjoyed them, and my siblings and just everyone I knew had read those books and liked them. So I thought, well, if I'm going to read something, it might as well be something that everyone has read and everyone enjoys. So I started reading Harry Potter. And this wasn't the first time I attempted. I had tried several times, but those first 5 chapters of Harry Potter are very boring. There's no magic, there's no excitement, it's just Harry being lonely and depressed at his aunt and uncle's house, basically. And it took me a very long time to get past those first 5 chapters. And it actually took me sitting down and forcing myself to read all night long, out loud, because I couldn't read in my head yet, those first 5 chapters. And once I got past those, I continued to read, And I read all of those books that year, actually. Those books had a great effect on my life and improved my reading exceptionally. After I finished the third book, I think, I stopped reading out loud. I could read during the day because I was self-conscious. I didn't want to read when other people could hear me read, so I would read at night, all night long. So once I started reading in my head, I could move away from that and read. Harry Potter, 8th grade. 8th grade was the first year I took an English class and it wasn't like a special education 8th grade reading course. It was just a regular reading course, or when I say reading, I mean English course. And I remember in that course I worked really hard, and I was in a new school, so I didn't have anyone. No one had background information on me. No one assumed that I was stupid. And so by the end of that year, when I was having my case study done, because I was still in the RSP, my teachers were surprised that I was in the RSP because I was doing so well in all their classes. I contribute my success, honestly, to just reading more often on my own and getting comfortable reading. And having my teachers say that, as stupid as it might sound, it gave me a boost in confidence. And from that time forward, students thought of me as kind of a nerd because I was always studying. I was always working toward getting good grades. I'm Mormon, so basically, I volunteered to serve my church for a couple years, and basically, as a missionary, you don't choose where you go, you get sent somewhere. And so I was sent to Mexico, Guadalajara, which means that I was expected to learn Spanish and learn how to communicate and talk with people in Spanish. And this is my second literary path, because the first one is just learning how to read and learning, just falling in love with reading. The second one is ended up going to Mexico and being thoroughly confused for a very long time. I would follow around my companion. There's always two missionaries. I would just follow this little guy around who didn't speak any English, and I would try to understand what he was saying and what people were saying back to him. And that was very confusing and very difficult time. In my youth, I would spend every morning from like 6 a.m. to 8 studying language, reading aloud in Spanish, practicing my grammar, pronunciation, and practicing useful phrases that I didn't know the day before. And this went on for months until eventually I could understand and speak Spanish, basically. It was a very difficult time, but I mean, through that experience, I have gained greater sympathy for students who come from different places to the United States without knowing the language and expecting to go through school and expecting to learn the language as well as the new content at the same time. That's it. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.